Imagine you're 26 and you've only been rapping for 4 years, and now you're dropping your debut album under J. Cole's Dreamville Records, blending your Sudanese roots, Queens hustle, and global ambition into one project, and that's exactly what Bas did with Last Winter. Let me explain why you should definitely check it out if you haven't already, or revisit it if it's been some time. 2014 was a pivotal year for music. Trap was dominating the charts, SoundCloud rappers were exploding, and then Bas just dropped Last Winter. Bas's debut album definitely tells the story of a man trying to change his life and transcend and achieve greatness. On this album, he raps about his struggles, what he's seen, the lessons he's learned, and where he wants to go. Bas says the term Last Winter came from him and his boy cooking up in his basement in Queens, and just being cold and having to grind and hustle, and deciding that every single track that they made that was a banger was going to go on this album, and this album in turn was going to help this be their last winter being there.
With me in New York before he moved to LA, and we would be in my basement like in the winter just cooking up and like just broke as shit and kind of depressed and cold, and every time we would like make a dope record, it was like our rallying call. We would look at each other, we'd be like, last winter, like it's the last winter we're gonna be in this position. Next winter, if we want to go record here.
He had the foresight to understand that even though he was struggling, even though he was right in the gutter at that point, greatness was on its way. It really feels like manifestation. Last Winter didn't just elevate Bas, it helped solidify Dreamville as a powerhouse label. This is one of the early projects that showed Dreamville's versatility, proving it wasn't just about J. Cole. Bas brought a new wave of authenticity, paving the way for the label's future stars. Through the lens of self-discovery, ambition, and humble flexing, Bas definitely hit the nail on the head with this one. I think one thing Bas did that executed this album and helped really build it up and make it a classic for me personally is his interaction with the fans. He often tweeted and posted on Instagram of him traveling and just recording and doing fun shit. And then he even labeled his fans the Fiends and made merch that matched. He built a community around this album, and from there that propelled his career. It felt like a bridge between underground authenticity and mainstream polish, and I definitely think that his roots that I mentioned earlier brought a fresh perspective and set him apart in the rap scene. I also think he was the hottest rapper out of Dreamville for a very long time. He had so much talent, and even his albums that followed up this one were great, but to me, Last Winter is his best work and definitely a classic. I saw someone compare J. Cole and Bas's relationship to Nas and AZ, and I think that's the perfect comparison. Though J. Cole was ascending and becoming a superstar at this point, Bas didn't let that stop him, and he remained humble and kept rapping. He understood his role within Dreamville's roster. I think he even took on a leadership role for some of the younger cats that came behind him. If I were to take a step back and look at Bas's career, I would say he's definitely one of my favorite rappers. He has such a devoted fan base, and I'm sure he appreciates that. Another element that makes this album so special to me is that through the bursting SoundCloud era that was just emerging on the scene, Bas made a pretty authentic rap album. He wasn't really searching for a hit, he wasn't searching for features to help him get a hit. Granted, he just made Bell and Lit with J. Cole smashes. But I really do think he sat back and went through this album and said, if I was listening, what would I want to hear? And although the lyrical content on Last Winter definitely stands out, the production was just so great we can't overlook it. It's a project that just feels intentional from start to finish. I think tracks like Fiji Water and My Iron definitely represent what Bas's mindset was on this album. Tracks like Mook in New Mexico show his humorous side. I think Charles de Gaulle to JFK is definitely one of the tracks that captures the essence of this album perfectly. It talks about his ambition, leaving where he's from, and then starting a new journey. For me as a young teenager, this one definitely stood out. It was one of my favorites. I can confidently say it's one of my favorite rap songs ever, and it's one of the songs that I revisit this album for the most. Bas's range on this album is unmatched. You Just Made Bell isn't just a celebration of freedom, it's a testament of mental liberation, with J. Cole bringing one of his best verses. And then there's Last Winter, the title track, which Bas wrote during those cold nights in his basement. It's gritty, raw, and a rallying cry for anyone grinding toward their dreams. His flows on this album were effortless yet meaningful, and there's so many fun quotables that I definitely refer back to all the time. The production is fun and lighthearted. You don't have to think too much while listening to this. You can kind of just float. Albums like this remind us why music's so powerful. It's personal, it's cultural, and it's timeless. For me personally, I discovered this album because my brother actually downloaded it on my MacBook at the time, and I didn't know who Bas was. I saw the album cover, and I thought, I gotta check this out. The album cover was super unique. For me, this album definitely holds a special place in my heart. It was motivational, it gave me ambition, it told me that there's more to the world than what I was seeing. Though I'm sure some of the places Bas rapped about in this album he didn't visit at that time, it was the belief in the thought that he would someday that motivated me. What's an album that helped shape your teenage years? Let me know, and I'm always down to revisit the classics.